YouTube says I'm alive, that must mean it's true. Welcome to another fan battle. This time it's going to be Neil against Vedanta, which is kind of like that guy with the Tyson grill versus Roy Jones Jr. Since Neil is a little bit rusty, hasn't played in a while from what I've heard, but still quite strong. So, everybody probably knows Vedanta by now if they've seen the previous fan battles. He is the guy who's super eager to fight everyone, and he probably will fight everyone. I think he's going to be like that guy who wants to play every single person from Pennsylvania except with the internet. So, let's see how it's gonna go. Just kind of spectate Vedanta, and it looks like the players are ready. Off to the races. It's good to be prepared. All right, so once those guys see their game on the stream, they will begin. And actually, they're exactly the same rating, 1976. That was a good year. I mean, I wasn't there, but anyway, you guys can imagine. It was probably a good year. Cold War was probably just kicking off or something. All right, this is cool. Knight c3 Sicilian. Recently, a book came out on Chessable recommending this line. I don't really recommend it, but I'm curious to see if Vedanta will choose. Nope, Grand Prix. In the book, they're recommending d4. This is more the classic move. We're fighting for the center a lot, but also not developing our pieces by playing f4. Anyway, these guys are so quick that it doesn't seem to matter to them whether they got their pieces out with f4 or no. And we're starting with 2 10-minute games, and then going to 2 5-minute games, and if the score is tied at that point, we're going to do an Armageddon. Alright, this is the precise way to put the knight. If they put it on f6, it would block the bishop. That's a no-no. So, good thing they put it here. What a relief. It's going to be a real game. Hello, Kakashi fanboy. I feel like I know who you actually are, but I don't recognize your username. So if you want to say hello differently so I know exactly who you are, that's cool too. Alrighty, now the players are slowing down. That's a good sign. If they kept going at that pace, I wouldn't be able to commentate. If they just kept playing and playing, I'd be like, oh no, the opening's over, the middle game's over, the end game's over, and then probably a draw or something, I don't know. I mean, they are exactly the same rating. It's eerily similar. As you guys have probably guessed, I was slow this morning. So there's going to be more coffee drinking and such. Yeah, I thought that was you, Ryan, so welcome. I knew it was somebody in that Monday night class from the old days. Speaking of the old days, I don't remember if Neil was ever in my class. I think Neil was always doing like private classes, but Vedanta definitely was, like 4 years ago or something. Long time ago now. Ancient times. I'm surprised that Vedanta doesn't know what to do in this position, because it's a pretty natural situation, is it not? I mean, these pieces are not doing anything. And for black, these pieces are not doing anything. Black has yet to castle. So we kind of know black is probably going to castle, right? And they're probably going to castle this way, because if they go to the queen side, I think it'll be much more likely that with this far advanced pawn, white will find a way of breaking through and opening up some lines for the rooks. So you don't really want to be there when the rooks break through, when the tigers break free. So he's pretty much guaranteed to go this way. So with that in mind, it's pretty safe to say that we should play a move like d3. Sometimes you can play super sharp, crispy stuff with d4 as well, but here, with king h1 played, he's too slow. So he played rook e1. Now check Magnus, also known as Neil. Castled quick as you like. I guess it remains to be seen if he castled into danger. I have a strong feeling he did not, though, because moving the king twice and moving the rook twice seems very suspicious to me at this early stage of the game. Geiger Robbie, welcome. By the way, my microphone broke, so now I really look like a WWE announcer. Like, this is my mic. The stand is like totally gone. It turned into dust, but it looks like those mics that they like hang from the ceiling and like yell into. So I feel like maybe I should do this a little more. But I also have neighbors, and I don't want them to feel very awkward about me yelling in the morning. So some other time. True, it would be bad, but I can't say that they don't do their own share. The other day, someone was like going crazy, running around the outside of my house, saying like, "I lost my phone," at like 6 a.m. I heard it all. Okay, so things are developing in an interesting way. I think black has made all pretty natural moves. A6 was preparing b5, which is a space gaining operation. It would win some extra room for the black pieces to maneuver. So of course white is playing a4, trying to stop it, but a4 comes at a price. You got new headphones? Nice. I also have new headphones. I don't know if you noticed. So I can actually hear or not hear, depending on which one I want to do. I prefer not hearing, honestly. When I can't hear everybody, it's just like perfect. Walking in the hallway and someone's like, "Hey, what's up?" And I'm just like, I at least have an excuse this time. It's my headphones. Duh. Okay, so black is going for it. This d4 square was... This is kind of part of the price that you pay for playing a4, actually. So, from the moment that white plays e4, the d4 square gets a little bit weak, especially if you don't immediately fight for it by putting your pawn on d4. Now, in this structure where white has put all the pawns on light squares, all the dark squares are kind of at the mercy of black to some extent. So this d4 square is already a little weakened. So if a knight just hangs out there, it's going to be pretty much snug as a bug in a rug until white can arrange pawn c3 to kick it away. Otherwise, the way to deal with it is to snap it off with a piece, which is not necessarily as desirable as just shooing it away like some kind of disgusting animal. Today's fan battle is brought to you by the Onion News Network, keeping you safe from the lies. And here's a thematic break. In the Sicilian, it's pretty common to play either d5 in one shot or d6 and then d5. So they're both good, they're both common because they end up in the same kind of deal, where we have more space, more room for our pieces, more fighting in the center, and here we have more tactics. He basically had to do something about this. Maybe actually, hold on. I was a little bit careless while I was talking, waxing philosophical. I think actually he had to lose this piece. As you can see, it's a double attack, and he's going to get only one pawn for his troubles. So just taking a quick step back, bishop e3 was kind of destined to fail, I think, because after d5, there's no way to save this bishop and also prevent pawn d4 on the next move. So, out-tacticked right there. Vedanta is going to go down in this first game, maybe. He has a minute to spare almost, but being down a piece, especially out of the opening, is pretty major. Now, you might think he's going after this pawn. I don't think he's going after this pawn. I think if he wants to take the pawn, he's going to have to reckon with bishop takes e6, and that's chaos. I mean, he might be able to take this pawn on c2 as well, but it's looking very shady after moves like rook e c1. So, in all likelihood, he's just trying to put that bishop on c6, and we see it. The bishop is on a better square now. than it ever was before. Yeah, who will win in the Sicilian? Beats me. We'll see. I like to say the Sicilians always win. It doesn't matter who plays it. Sicilian's the real winner because they got picked. Some other openings don't even get the chance to be picked, if you think about it. Like the England Gambit. Arguably the worst gambit to ever grace this earth with its presence. I don't think Carlsen has ever stooped so low as to play the England Gambit in actual tournament play against any caliber of player. I think it's just not worth it. There are some openings Carlsen won't play, but he'll mostly play anything because, he's so far beyond everybody at this point that, like, even if he's, like, down a pawn value in the opening or something, he'll make up for it by being a real beefcake. Little known fact, I played Magnus and misclicked, and now the game is viral on YouTube, but I wasn't playing on my account, so I have to be very secret about it. Don't tell anyone. Technically, you're not supposed to use other people's accounts, but I think as long as you're not up to any nefarious purposes, it's not terrible. Yeah, I remember Sundelia. I don't know why. Sometimes I can easily remember what someone's parents' names are, and sometimes I can't. Probably it's because probably because I knew your brother for so long before I met you. I had, like, more time to remember. But that's just a theory. Mere superstition. Right, King G1. What's it mean? I thought he might go for something more ambitious, because, I mean, this rook, it's not doing anything at all, right? I thought he might play rook G1 and put this rook on H4 since it's going to get kicked anyway. Look at all this maneuvering going on. This bishop was actually kind of not doing that much. Like, I know it was attacking f7. I guess it was necessary to eventually get rid of it, because white could have played rook f1 and just gone after it. But I kind of like the idea of giving back the f-pawn just to trade everybody being up a piece. But I think Neil wants to squeeze every little bit of water from the rock that he can. He's a rock squeezer. Now, you might say that sounds like a bad thing, but squeezing water from a rock, it puts you in biblical good favor. Not many people can squeeze water from rocks. No. I really feel the tactics brewing now this knight is on e5. Like, it's pretty much just posted up, looking good. The only small problem is maybe that this pawn is hanging, but that might turn out to be a good problem, because maybe when the knight goes there, we can do something cool with this knight. But I also think that's just unnecessary. Like, giving up the d-pawn probably shouldn't happen, because then this knight gets active. Whereas right here on e2, I think it's just not very active at all. Okay, here come some piece exchanges. The times they are exchanging. And they don't stop. I recently started playing some daily chess games again for the first time in forever. I think I accidentally resigned one of my games a few months ago, and I was like, that's it. I just got fed up. So I stopped for a while, but now I just am playing 4 games at a time. I used to play like hundreds of games at a time when I was but a wee lad. Well, not a wee lad because I learned chess when I was 15, so I couldn't have been that wee. Okay, so White's offering a draw here. Not even like on his move, but I guess that's the internet for you. Nobody cares about stuff like that. In real life, you can only offer the draw after you make your move and before you hit the clock. So you can't just be like draw, 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 the way that chess players do. I once had a guy like really try to convince me to accept the draw. It wasn't like he offered a draw, it was that he was like, so I was in Las Vegas. It was my first time playing there. It was, I guess, North American Open, maybe. And so I was playing this guy, and he was playing very aggressively and very macho out of the opening, like really banging the clock and everything. But then I got a winning position as black by like move 10. And so he goes like, draw. And I just kind of ignored him because that's what I always do. Good thing that came with check, by the way, because the knight was hanging. And so I was like ignoring him. And then, like, it was the next move. Again, he goes draw, putting the hand out and everything. And this guy was a grown man offering me a draw like this. So I ignored him again. And then before the next move had even started, like just a few minutes later, he was like, draw. So at this point, I took it upon myself to say, no, I would not like to make a draw at this point. And so he laughed. He was like, ha ha ha, no draw? Oh, silly you, draw. And so it was starting to get on my nerves. And I started to wonder if maybe my opponent didn't speak English. I had some reasonable suspicion for that. So I thought about it for a while, and I told him, no, I would like to continue the game in Spanish, just to make sure. And then he laughed even more, and again offered me a draw. So by the end of the game, he'd offered me something like 17 draws. I was counting. I think I wrote it down somewhere. So he just was offering draw, 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 crazy amount of draws. And then he offered me money. He was like, okay, it's good for you, it's good for me, we make a draw, right? Money. And I was like, no, I don't want money for a draw. Especially since it was like the beginning of the tournament. I don't think it even would have made a difference. So I don't know why he thought he could solve his problem with money. And eventually I beat him, and he shook my hand 3 times and went away, and it was fine. But it was such a weird game with like 17 draw offers of money. Now, I've been kind of talking over what's going on in the game here because it's kind of been a wash. Like, the last couple of moves, yeah, resignation from the fork. See, once he went down a piece, there wasn't that much to say. But we're here for a new 10-minute game. The score is 1-0. And Vedanta is standing by the Sicilian, but this time he's going for this Taimanov/Con Paulson thing. I can never remember which one's which. Depending on what moves you play first, they have a different name. But frequently, it's just the same. Manuel Paiva, FIDE rating. I don't know what my ratings are right now. I mean, I haven't even played since the beginning of the pandemic, so. My FIDE would probably be somewhere like 2200 right now if I was playing, but I'm not playing, so I don't have the FIDE rating like that. I'm not sure what it actually is. It's probably something really low because I haven't played that many FIDE events. I mean, my online rating here is like 2400, and I'm not really trying very hard. I think I could do better. If that might be a better indicator. It's tough to say what people's levels are right now, just because it's hard to play a legitimate tournament. Like, the online tournaments are super weird, and so it's understandable if people don't want to play, and the over-the-board tournaments are pretty much all canceled, so it's a shame, but that's what we have to deal with. Now, the players are playing really fast. This is kind of like deep opening stuff. I don't know if this is still anyone's prep, because it looks a little shady here for black. It feels like not prep. You know, the queen's on d7. That would not be bad if they could put the bishop on like a6, but it's very congested here on the queen side. Maybe they could still fix it with like some knight maneuvers. I really don't like this pawn structure though. Samdelius says he never played? No, I'm sure you've played. Come on. Oh, in FIDE? Yeah, you wouldn't have played any FIDE events. That's true. Because they don't have FIDE events for low-rated players in the US. So this pawn structure, I think, is just generally favorable for white when there are lots of pieces on the board. Because they have more space, right? This e-pawn's more far advanced. And there's no way to attack the d-pawn. They can only attack this pawn structure with f6. So that being said, they have to kind of live with the status quo, which means they have to try to invade on the c file, the only open file for the rooks. But here it's clear that that's not happening. So I think that things are looking pretty bleak here for black. Of course, we're going to do a post-mortem at the end. Everybody's going to talk about what they're thinking, what could have happened at the very end. Okay, so white is more or less preparing to make what's called an Alekhine gun formation, where you put the rooks and the queens together on the same file, attacking some distant target. In this case, it's the whole c file. We don't want to give black any chance of getting in here as white. And they might even go for some kind of protracted kingside plan as well. That's one of the luxuries of having so much space. You can, like, I don't know, kick that, rewind it back, and play f4, f5, and try to open up this area of the board. So we'll see. Knight d2 is a little more... I guess it's not that he wants to trade the knight, it's just that he doesn't care if black trades the knight. Because knight takes, bishop takes would accelerate the kingside plan, actually. Oh, he's going for the outpost square. That's also very good. Right here. I think that black will obtain some counterplay, though, if he actually occupies the outpost square. My idea for counterplay for black would be a move like rook a c8 to meet knight c5 with rook takes c5. Oops, that was a bad arrow, as usual. And I know it looks really bad, but in the end, you have an outpost knight that's pretty strong, and the c-pawn becomes a target, so you could next bring your other rook to c8 and try to drum up some kind of counterattack. The reason you have to do that is just, it's pretty hopeless on the king side, and the queen side's on lockdown, so you have to do something. You can't stay in quarantine forever on the queen side. The only lucky thing for black is that this bishop is stunted, but this bishop can easily come to life just by like moving this rook and bringing it back around to d3, the natural homeland of light square bishops. Alright, so here comes the knight. I wonder if Vedanta is going to go wild and take it right now, or do something different. I mean, the options are pretty limited. Yeah, there we go. It makes sense. I think he kind of had to go for it. So even if the score becomes like 2-3, actually no, 2 out of 3, you could still make a draw. So we're going to play all 4 of the first games is my point. So you guys can look forward to all of that. B4, that looks kind of insane, but maybe it's the right way to play for counterplay. I was thinking rook c8 first. I feel very unsure about this, because there might be something like c6, knight c6, and then b3. Oops, sorry, b3. No, not b3, because of knight a3. It's just chaotic. Actually, yeah, b3, knight a3, queen a2. All the pieces are hanging. Like, I think white is the one favoring from the opening of the position like this, because this knight is really stuck. How's it going to come back? Okay, so this is going for like a simple fork. Knight takes b4, trying to win back the exchange. But after a move like bishop c6, I mean, maybe bishop c6 is not totally desirable, but white would lose their best bishop, the light square bishop. But they avoid this tactic and they get to play rook takes d4. So I think it's pretty obvious what he'll play here. Is this stonks? What is this? So it's pinning the knight, it's protecting the b pawn, it's attacking the bishop. My instinct is to play knight takes e5, though. I'm not sure that queen a4 is that sharp. Alright, but it looks like bishop b7 is what's in the cards anyway. He's probably hoping for a queen trap. Queen a7, rook a8, but the a-pawn was never the target here. The idea with knight e5 is that if bishop takes, you take the queen. It's a discover attack. And if they take the queen, you rescue the knight. So that's why I had that on the agenda. There's a problem with it, though. Oh, by the way, knight b2 is right there. He could also have played knight b2. That was maybe... No, knight b2 runs into queen a6, knight d3, queen c6. That's two pieces for rook. Not good. But now it's actually a threat, knight b2. Okay, here if knight b2, pawn c6, knight a4, pawn d7, that looks like it's winning for white. It's just too strong. Like, the pawn on d7 is about to promote, rook takes d4 will protect it. They have to liquidate the bishop so they don't lose the bishop. Yeah, Anand, I do think that black is losing here. Vedanta got crushed in the first game too, but we're still going to go to the end because maybe he can make up for it in the 5-minute. Neil, also known as Czech Magnus, professed that he's a little bit rusty, so I think usually the rust manifests even more in time pressure, so he might have some chance. Yeah, I think black is losing here. Like, hold on, what was that? Is that an unnecessary exchange sacrifice? Well, he is up a piece. I think it might not have been necessary. Hold on. Yeah, I think it was not necessary to do that. He could have been up a full rook with king g2. Alright, and black resigned. Wow, what a miserable position to just resign. Now we're going to go to the 5-minute segment. So the players... Okay, that was very fast. Usually they're pretty slow on that one. Okay, and they're off. So Neil is opening with e4. And here the rating difference is wider on paper, but Czech Magnus has apparently not played very much recently. So he has 2100 in the Blitz here. Vedanta has 1982, which was also a good year. And we're seeing a repeat of this Kahn-Paulson opening. Or Taimanov opening, whatever it's called. It's just silly names, you know. No, this is different. G3 is not a very ambitious system, but it often takes you into new territory, which is kind of the strategic move du jour in 2020. I don't like the way he's playing it, though, because there's a very good setup for black against this opening line. In fact, he could have arrived in the same position by playing queen e2 on move 3, I think. Anyway, what is that? Is that a misclick? Bishop d6, losing the knight on c6. All right, that was very generous of Neil to accept the take back so we could have a real game here. So kudos to the players for good sportsmanship. It's different when you're playing strangers on the internet who will ask for takebacks just so they can win. But here, in a match among friends, I think it makes a lot of sense to accept the takebacks. Now, this setup for white is not very ambitious. As you can see, white has a lot less space than they did in the previous iteration of this opening in our match. The nice thing, though, is they get a lot of piece play. Like here, the e5 square is kind of theirs eventually, and taking this bishop is something of an accomplishment, because that was the better bishop for black. This one is stunted by this pawn, and if it goes this way, it's stunted by this pawn. It's going to take some major Major undertakings to activate it. This whole path is open, but you'd have to move every minor piece out of the way to utilize it, and that's probably just to get captured by this bishop anyway. So it's not really so great. What's special about 1982, the year? Well, a lot of people were born that year. I don't know. I think there was also a World Championship match in 1982. I'm bad with numbers, ironically, considering I'm doing a PhD minor in mathematics, but usually I don't have to actually use numbers for that, so it kind of makes sense. But I don't remember exactly what year it was, but I think 1982 was one of the Fischer-Karpov matches. I could also be wildly wrong because I wasn't even born, and it's hard to put some things in context. It's kind of like how some people think the Earth is like 4,000 years old. You know, you weren't there the whole time. It's kind of hard to believe that it could be that much longer than, you know, say 100 years. It's tricky. When the Vedas say that every million years we're going to burn it down, it's hard to say like, okay, 1, 2, 3, a million years. Hard to imagine these kinds of things. All right, knight b4. Yeah, he's maybe stopping knight b4 with a3. I don't think knight b4 was in the cards, though. Like, it was kind of a one-move threat, not very strong. I would rather go in for knight d4. So let's see if black kind of arranges it. Yeah, here it is. This looks like stonks, though, because they're going to get 2 rooks for the queen. Oh my god, I can't believe he didn't do it. I think he was just winning on material there. Like, if queen takes, rook takes, check, king is trapped, queen f8 is forced, rook takes f8, king takes f8, and I think he was up a rook, so he really missed a chance there. And here, there's a lot of danger. There's so much danger. Okay, all the pieces are gone, and Czech Magnus has a very active king. You might naively think, oh no, his king's not safe, but watch, this king is going to do a number on the queen side because, look, this king is first. And it's good to be first. This king can't really do anything. I actually disagree with this decision to play king c6. I thought he would go in for f4 and f5. I thought that looked a little bit more beefy. Maybe I missed some tactics, though. Like, they could have tried to stop with g6, but we can insist with g4. So I think that was maybe had more utility. This could allow black conceivably to activate their forces, although I think this is kind of not a very good attempt. I think they had to try just king e7, king takes b5, king d6, and cling for dear life to the shambles of their position. Because here, we're going to see the white king remaining active throughout. One simple plan is like king c4, b4, bishop c1, bishop b2, and we just take this pawn. Otherwise, they'll have to babysit with the king, but then we can play a4, b5, a5, b6, make a queen. It's going to happen. Yeah, I do agree it's hard to see tactics when you're playing. I'm sitting here with my coffee and my lava challah bread and my window plants and just, you know, shooting the bull. It's a lot easier for me. I also am peeling a pomegranate secretly on the side. Yep. That's the biggest challenge I have right now, peeling this pomegranate. Meanwhile, the players are the ones in the trenches. a4 was good. If he played king takes d4 in one shot, it would be knight b5 check, king c3, knight takes a3, and that's a tiny bit of counterplay. So it's kind of a shutting down the counterplay game right now. Creating this protected pass pawn with b5 looks pretty strong. Pardon me. Another fancy pants tactic would have been b6 in that position, I think. Actually, no, it's too fancy pants. Never mind. Alright, and here comes the bride. I think we're going to have maybe two brides. It is 2020 after all. So the D pawn and the B pawn are looking quite scrumptious. I mean, prime for the promotion, so black resigned. This is our final game. I think the match is decided because it's a 3-0 sweep right now. So this last one is mostly for the lulz and the viewers, just so we have something to look at. And Vedanta finally got his scotch that he loves. I too am a scotch fan, but not in chess. He just loves this opening. But I think he's also missing a chance here. I think e5 was the move du jour, not c3. I think black is solidly a little bit better here, just because they have an extra pawn. I mean, they have yet to castle, so you might be screeching king safety, but it's not such a big deal. Here, this e5 tactic is normal to try to win the queen, but it just doesn't work. Like, let's say you play knight takes, pawn takes, or the same, whatever. And then you go bishop f7 check. It doesn't help because after king f7, queen d8, the rook is guarding the queen. So here he was trying to build some pressure, which takes a lot of chutzpah because knight a5 is on tap. I think that there will be some small problems here coming up. Although the e-pawn is hanging, so let's see. What will black do to mitigate this problem? It'll be funny if black actually keels over in this game. Queen e8, prudent move. No need to pin your own bishop. I think that made a lot of sense. And pleasant is what I would call this position. I know that black is kind of rearranging all the pieces on the back rank, and if they play knight b8, the transformation is complete. But, you know, they look kind of passive, but they're also up material, and the white pieces are getting steadily chipped away. f6 would be a disaster here, I'd just like to mention. It doesn't result in mate, but it doesn't result in good things either. Okay, so 6 pawns for black, 5 pawns for white, 2 bishops for black, 2 knights for white. White's pieces are a little bit active. I think that we're going to see a move like c6, just kicking the active knight. Maybe white will be prompted to sack an exchange, but it's not that effective. I think it's going to be a hard fight here for white to create any activity. And usually the reason you're playing the scotch is to play an active game, starting from move 1. But I guess it's not always meant to be when your opponent outplays you in the opening. I think Vedanta's challenge in this match so far mostly was getting any activity in the first games. Of course, it's easy to say when the score is 3-0 and we're looking at the final game, but I even called it when he was very slow in his first game with white. Yep, double bishops. What's going on here? Some shenanigans are unfolding. I thought black would just play c6. But I guess this is understandable as well. I'm not sure who's putting up more resistance, Vedanta or this pomegranate. Like, it's really hard to peel this thing. It's 3-0 right now. This is a pretty transparent threat. So white was probably intending something like rook f6 to win a bishop, but then black would play rook d1, and it will be checkmate in 2. So h3 solves that problem. We're going to make a Luft, as they say, some Lebensraum for the white king. We might see the b-pawn dropping off. Depends on how materialistic our players are today. Queen takes b2, guards f6. Alright, but the queen trade does look pretty clean, because once the queens are off, the potential counterplay against like b7, etc. is gone. So now black just has to deal with this threat to the bishop. I thought he would play something like king h8 though. Bishop takes b2 is probably also really good. g6 is maybe intending to put the bishop back on g7. It's not actually threatening to take this rook, just for the record, because it's pinned. Alright, we have one pomegranate peeling champion in the chat. Yeah, probably it's because I'm not looking at it very much. I should probably pay more attention. Maybe at some point we should have a pomegranate peeling championship instead of a chess championship here, and see who is the one true pomegranate peeler. Yeah, I mean, life is dark. There's a spectrum of funny and sad, and I like to straddle the line. So yeah, I hope none of my jokes are ever directly in your face, not funny to anyone. Ooh, that was a bad move, I think. So rook d8 is threatening checkmate. Big problem. Even if it wasn't threatening checkmate, I believe that f6 would just force all the pieces off, and black would have a winning rook endgame. Okay, so here comes the end. That's a tactic, if I ever saw one. It's attacking the defender, and we have a resignation. Alright, so now we're going to go to the players. Let me just move all my stuff. Alright, that was a good match, but also a 4-0 sweep. I think Vedanta is probably shocked. Let's find out. I'm going to get in the Discord, and we're all going to be in a voice channel for that. Alright, let's see. Boink. Hey Vedanta, can you hear me? Oh, yeah. Alright, great. And I'd just like somebody in the chat to confirm they can hear Vedanta just fine. I think we're just waiting on Neil, and then we will analyze all the games. So, what do you think, Vedanta? It was kind of a clean sweep for your opponent.
The last game I thought I might have some counterplay, but I kind of lost.
Yeah, I think you got destroyed. What's up, Neil?
Hello.
How you doing? Can you hear us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Good.
Okay.
It's been a long time, right, Neil?
Is it just me or does Neil sound different?
What? I don't know. Maybe everybody sounds different on the internet. It's always the microphone and stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's see. I have the first one open. Can you guys see it on my stream?
Yeah, just put it on your screen.
Okay. So Neil, tell us about your choice for knight c3. Is this like your normal Sicilian stuff now?
No, I was black, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. So Vedant, you normally play knight f3, don't you? Or do you always play knight c3?
I'm just starting to like see different variations of the
Yeah, that's good.
like the Sicilian of my opponent. I like when I play e5. I normally have good results.
Okay. So
Like in the game, I actually completely forgot what happens after bishop e5. I normally play e5, but then I started mixing.
wait, hold on. Bishop c5. Do you mean bishop c4?
Yeah.
Yeah, bishop e4. Sorry, yeah, bishop
No, the
e4.
main idea for white in the grand prix, like queen e1, queen h4, and f5.
Yeah,
And you just
that's one of the ideas. There's also this cool line where you can play d4.
Yeah, I actually saw a video. I think it's like Rosin who was doing this thing, this scheme, I guess, where he did that, where he did d4, and it was like I kind of missed it.
Isn't d4 in this position? Or something very similar?
I think it was like before bishop c5, or before like the bishop on c7.
I don't think that's true. Because the idea with playing d4 as white in this opening is you want to gain the initiative, right? So how are you going to gain the initiative if they can just uh, like you have no targets basically before like bishop g7 stuff has happened.
Yeah. You know,
So
in the Grand Prix, you wanna get an attack from the.
Yeah. There was just like no attack for you, and then after that tactic with d5, and I just
Yeah, I kind of lost all of it.
It-
I kind of initiative at the end for like a draw when it was like a 2 pawn versus knight.
king h1 was probably your critical error. So in this position, I'm just gonna check with the live chess notation thing, because I'm pretty confident that in this position d4 is not a common move, but it's actually an interesting move. So if you play d4 here instead of king h1, let's say they play like pawn takes d4 and then knight b5. This is a very dynamic position. What?
Can't you just take the pawn?
They can just take the pawn, but then you can just play knight b5, and I think they have some weaknesses. With the bishop on g7, d6 is kind of tender. So we're looking at maybe like an f5 break very quickly and bishop f4 attacking d6. If you play like a6 here, I think you just take the d pawn.
d4 break happened like in a lot of close.
Yeah, this is definitely a thing. So Vedanta, if you're gonna play this line, maybe you should check d4 in this position.
I've actually faced this before. And
From whom? In over the board or what?
no, in like online.
Oh, okay. This is becoming more popular. It was like unknown maybe 2 years ago, but then it was popularized by. I know that Ramesh is aware of it and he's taught it, and I think Rosen made a video about it or something. So more people are becoming aware, and you should be aware of Vedant. So whatever opening you play, you should at least see a little bit before going into
Yeah,
it.
I actually have analyzed e6 and knight.
Yeah.
But six.
But what is rook e1? Like when you play the Grand Prix, I thought you want to play f4 f5, right? So isn't
Yeah, I really wanted to be queen e1, queen h4, but he didn't castle very quickly, so I kind of failed.
even here, I'm not sure if queen e1 is still that good because king h1 is a very slow move.
I wanted a different variation. My pieces weren't developed at this point. So let's really that.
Another nice idea in this closed Sicilian that I've seen is where you let me just I'm old, so I need to churn my brain a little more. Okay, so another idea that I've seen is like you play d3, right? And we play some more or less normal stuff. And
Yeah.
hold on, here the d5 tactic comes in. So I need to maybe we need to play a prophylactic move, like let's say a4 castle, like bishop b3. This is not really like a main line, but I just want to show a concept. Actually, I'm gonna put the bishop all the way back on a2. So let's say black goes in for like knight d4 at some point, right? So one of your ideas is to. I'm playing a really weird move order, so please forgive me. But one of the ideas is to play knight d1 and c3. This is just generally a useful concept because you can take the d4 square under control long term. But black is also doing fine here.
Maybe f5, f4, f5, knight, but that never happened in the game. So.
Yeah, it never really did. So I guess we could see that maybe in a future iteration of the closed Sicilian. Let's see. I guess this was it. d5 was just a winning move, and there's not much to see. So,
Pretty bad at
but you said there was some small counterplay, right? So let's see. Where was their counterplay?
The last one, I think that's what he was talking about.
Oh yeah, I think Neil, you could have denied the counterplay a little bit more strongly.
Yeah, I know. But I was just trying to like simplify things and just
Yeah.
I'll make it up.
I thought you had some good ways to simplify as well. But you know, it's all fine.
pawn was my strongest thing.
Which one?
Like it does weaken my inside the G pawn,
Mhm.
but I think the way I had to completely stop the bishop and look at them around.
Yeah, I think when it comes to counterplay, your options are you have to go super active and try to induce some blunders, or you give them a technical position.
I thought here I was okay. Till the pawn became a bit too high.
Yeah, I wonder if you can make a draw here somehow, because knight versus rook is
In that
difficult.
game, there was like some drawing chances.
Yeah,
There wasn't anything that-
there are. So let's see. I think the counterplay was kind of going down around here. So rook a5 is probably not a very good move for counterplay. Like I know it's checked, but like you're keeping an eye on this knight. That's kind of useful. And this pawn is hanging. So what if you just play like b4? Is there any counterplay here?
I don't know what I should have done in this position.
I think maybe b4. Just try to run down and get him to sacrifice a piece.
I could have tried sacrificing
It,
and then get the pawn.
if
And since I'm pretty sure if the pawn is a bit in front of the king, like it's in like the sixth rank right now, sixth rank, it should be a pretty good drawing chance. 'Cause it's like,
Wait, what are you talking about when like you sacrifice a rook?
yeah, it was maybe probably not because the
If you sacrifice a rook, then like both the pawns have to be in the sixth rank. But
Yeah, I think that's what he was saying, right? I mean, if you sacrifice something different, I mean, you might be able to get all kinds of stuff, but the pawns need to reach the sixth rank, or at least one of them. Another option for a draw is you can exchange this h pawn for this e pawn. I think that would become a draw.
yeah, this game was like maybe at the end I might have had some counterplay, but I couldn't like I don't know, like the draw.
I think you just weren't thinking in the right way. Like rook a5 is blocking your pawn. It's maybe helping them to improve their pieces. So you had to go in for something more like this. Neil, would you have played h3 here or something different?
no, here, yeah, here I would have played h3. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess this is maybe there's not even anything because it looks pretty strong. Like
H3, h3
That
was like
game was
actually yeah, it's just coming.
the most intense maybe after this game, cause I forgot what my blunder was.
Yeah, I think probably there's nothing after h3. So even if there are better ideas, it's just losing. So let's see the next game. Okay. Sometimes there's a little shadow of hope even if it's losing, but I think there was no hope. I couldn't find it.
I actually did not know about this.
Oh, hold on. This is the wrong game. Sorry. 1 second. 1, 2, 3. Right here. Yeah, I'm not very good at finding the hope. So, anyway. Hold on. Did we just look at this one? What am I doing? I thought we played 4 games, right? So, I think it keeps moving on me. 1, 2, 3. This has to be it. Alright.
yeah, it is.
Alright, great. Sorry about that, guys. I'm not very good at counting, it seems. Wait, but this is... Did you guys play g3 in the second game?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
In the one where it's both 1976 is where.
Yeah, you're right. So, where's that?
Yeah,
The second one? Yeah.
intense. But I actually had some counterplay at the end, I think.
Hold on, why does it keep doing this to me? Am I just dumb? Like, what's going on?
It is this
It is? Okay, sorry. I thought you played g3 only later on. Okay.
I played g3 twice.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, oh yeah, I remember now, because this could happen from a French transposition, right? So, you could get this from this interesting move order with queen e2. Have you ever played this? The idea is that d5 is just met by pawn takes d5. It, like, wrecks their plan.
I never like see this move G3. I normally just
That's why I played.
But, by the way, shout out to Arav in the chat. He's just saying hello to everybody. So, anyway, so g3, I was saying on stream, it gets you into new territory pretty fast. At least it often does. If someone's well prepared, it's just, like, easy equality, but most people are not well prepared, so here we are. Besides, it's a 10-minute game, so you can play what you want.
I might have had some counterplay at the end. Like I kind of sacked the C5. Rook. I sacked rook because that was like the only. Because I needed to open.
I thought that was the best decision, yeah. But you went wrong somewhere here, don't you think?
Yeah, I did pretty well this game.
So d5's good.
Here, this is all normal. Up to queen e2, it's all normal. And then you can play like e5.
So right now I'm on d4 on move 9. Are you talking about before that?
For my knight for the bishop activity, but then it started getting pretty bad.
Neil, were you thinking something different, like before this point with d4 on?
Yeah, wait. Wait. Right now the knight's on b6. Wait.
Sorry, there's just a little stream lag. So
Okay. Yeah.
It-
So. Yeah. Right here, it's knight d7, okay, and then
Mhm.
d4.
so I think taking's maybe not good. What do you think?
I was saying when I played queen e2, right? He could have just played e5. That's probably the best option.
Yeah, probably. That's a way to punish the weird opening play.
My pieces became too low at the end because right now the knight was kind of stuck. The bishop is like I don't even know what it's gonna be doing at the end.
But even this is fine for black, right? I think you could play,
Yeah. Well, it's not like a French now. So.
yeah, a6, b5, but you should not take on d4, is what I'm saying. I think probably it's losing.
I didn't have too much an idea what.
Maybe you can still hang on somehow here, but not knight b6. I think you have to play something like a5, just some desperate kind of move. Maybe b6. Like, let's say you play a5. Knight c3 is going for the b5 outpost, makes a lot of sense. b6.
Yeah.
If you try to occupy, I play bishop a6, and that might be equality. That's my idea.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and the threat is bishop a6, so we might see a move like rook. I don't know if it should be e1 or d1. Maybe d1, just because that's the tender spot. Bishop a6. I think maybe queen e3. This is a little bit of counterplay for black, despite the structure. Maybe next you could play some spicy chess with b5, or maybe queen b8.
Yeah.
The idea rook c8. I think this is stronger.
Best chance of getting into a good position, but then my pieces weren't that well put.
It was mostly your knight on b6, I think, that did it for you. Like, first you gave white so much space in a stable structure, and then you blocked your every chance of activating these worst pieces. So that was what you had to do, I think. Now, bishop b4, this is also pretty poorly advised, because this bishop is really good, right? Do you really want to trade it for the knight? You should probably not.
Trade it. I actually don't know why, but I kind of wanted to trade it.
I guess you want to create a target on c3. Like,
I mean, I took with the rook, so it was in.
yeah, exactly. It's not forced.
I thought the knight could have done like some big threats. I just traded it, and I kind of wanted to do like the knight out there on c4.
Have you seen my video about piece activity, Vedanta? Because I talked about this position, but with no pieces except the knight and these pawns, and I was talking about the activity of this knight. This knight is kind of active because it attacks the pawn, it's true, but it's also stunted by the pawn's activity. So it's not like this knight is super threatening. I mean, I guess you're looking at knight b5 and knight d6 or something, right? But I would actually welcome that, because then you can at least get some counterplay by eliminating this e-pawn, you know? You can make it go on d6.
Okay.
So you had to activate the pieces. Even if this was a good idea, you should get these guys out first.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
that.
So it's a pretty good video. I just added chapters to it. I didn't know how to do that until like a couple days ago. I think one of our viewers told me how to do it. So yeah, it's nice when you guys help me out.
Videos do you have? How many videos do you have?
I have probably like 150 videos or something.
How long are they?
They're all different. Like some are like 5 minutes, some of them are like 2 hours. The ones with chapters are all the long ones. And usually I do like 10 examples or something. So it's more like, it's like 10 videos in one. I just don't know how to separate them. So here we are. Anyway, they're still good. So queen c2 was an interesting move. I think I misread your intentions, Neil. So why did you choose queen c2?
Well, queen c2, I was gonna play knight d2, and but then I realized b5 and then c5 would just remain closed. So
Yeah, I actually didn't understand knight d2, because this knight, like, yeah, it looks pretty good, but you can get rid of it in a different way. I thought you were going to play rook c1, bishop f1.
yeah, oh yeah.
And my idea after that was to play some knight maneuver. I hadn't decided maybe knight h4, but I wanted to bring the bishop back to like maybe g4 and bishop g3 and f4.
I just knew that I had to get the knight to c5.
Yeah, actually that made a lot of sense too. I mean, when I saw knight c5 in the board, I was like, okay, that's nice. But when you started this maneuver, I was anticipating this exchange sack. Maybe you felt comfortable with it, but I thought he could have done a lot more. Like rook c8 here. This looked much stronger.
Yeah.
I think you played what, b4? No, d4. d4 was a little bit desperate, I think, Vedant. Because now the d-pawn is a permanent weakness. Maybe, so let's say rook c8.
Yeah.
Neil, how would you play here?
Well, I move 12.
Wait, rook c8 one.
I'll move 21. It's catching up. I have it on the board.
Move 21. So after d takes c5, rook c8.
Yeah. D takes c5 instead of d4. We play rook c8 instead.
Maybe wait.
That seems better because then obviously b4 and then d4.
Right, but then at least we have some chance of closing the position and...
Yeah, and knight d5. If you play d4, knight d5 was my worry about, but I didn't want to allow that.
Knight d5 is not a problem, though. You just take it, right?
I mean, yeah, but then if I play like okay, d4.
Like here? Okay.
Yeah, then like if you move the rook, then knight d5, and then if I take, then I guess it does open the long diagonal, but you could probably close it with f3.
What about rook takes d4, though? Just stopping it.
Oh yeah, there is that also.
Yeah, that's why I was concerned for this D pawn. I thought it was you can't sustain it. If you could put a knight on c6 and play d4 and play knight d5, I agree with you. That bishop b7 and queen c6 is way strong, but wasn't meant to be. I think also even if they accomplish that, you're up material. So if you play f3, probably they just can't break through.
Yeah. Actually, move 12 is actually tactics.
Sure. You said with rook d. Oh, did I accidentally play like a sideline? No, you. So
Move 12,
I clicked on the wrong 12. 1 second.
played bishop g5, I played queen g7. I could just took the pawn on
d4.
d4.
Yeah, I actually forgot to mention that. So it's a deflection, right? I'm not sure how your endgame is at the end, but I think it looks pretty good. Like knight d4, knight d4, queen e5, f4. What do you think about that?
Move 12, I think is where.
Yeah, hold on. I'm playing it.
Yeah, here. Knight takes d4. If he takes an queen, I just take the queen with check. And once he takes it with the knight, I just take the bishop and I'm up a pawn.
But how about if they take on d4 and you take the bishop and then they play f4? So this is consolidating the e5 pawn. Probably you're forced to play queen d8.
Queen back, or, yeah, you have to just play queen back.
Yeah, you can, but I'd posit that this position is pretty pleasant for white. They have a lot of space. They have a lot of development. But probably this is the way to go for counterplay, though. Like, you need some kind of dynamic counterplay.
Yeah, and maybe I still could do the threats. Knight goes just for maybe or no.
It's not really a big threat, though. Like, I know you want to put it on the outpost square, but they'll just play b3 and kick it. I don't think it's such a big deal to accomplish knight c4.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a good point. Knight takes d4 was definitely a tactic we had to check out. Was there anything else later in the game? So I'm going back to the way the game actually went with the rook exchange sacrifice and then b4. I think here it's kind of a wash. Like, actually, I was surprised that, Neil, you didn't play bishop takes c6 when he played knight c6 on move 23. Do you have any explanation for that?
Yeah, no, I don't know, I didn't like because kind of the long diagonal thing, and then I realized I can just close it with f3, so it's not even a problem. I don't know I was worried about that.
Yeah, I guess probably you were operating on general principles instead of calculation. Rook takes d4 is really strong because now the knight's trapped. If they play bishop to b7 like what you said, f3 is definitely the recipe, and they're just going to lose the knight. So I was pretty happy with this for you.
Yeah.
Are you able to see it on the board? Maybe we could go to the next game after this.
Wait, Vedanta left the voice channel?
Oh, probably he just lost connection. He'll be back.
Oh, he's back.
All right, good. Okay, so you can always tell when Vedanta disconnects because it gets really quiet. But Vedanta always talks so much. All right, so
Your position was pretty bad. I think that after
pro-
after the started going away, after the pieces started getting captured, my counterplay started going away, and
yeah, I kind of got the feeling, Vedanta, you were just going for counterplay the whole time. Like you weren't trying to ever make a stand and get a good position.
I just needed the counterplay. Even one glimpse of like attack, I would have probably done like a really good position. But then Neil did really good job to stop all the counterplay.
Wait, the third game?
No, I think just generally, but
Oh, yeah.
The third game was pretty good actually.
Also, in general, I just thought that you had like a time advantage, but you didn't really like make advantage of it.
yeah, I was kind of getting at that too. That maybe Vedanta, you need to try to get a better position out of the opening or something.
Yeah, I actually made this huge mouse left where I accidentally just played bishop.
Oh yeah, you play bishop d6 in what, this position, right?
Yeah, and it was
I just allowed it because why not?
Yeah, I thought that was good sportsmanship. I mean, we're in a match here. We're not playing for measly rating points on light chess, so it makes sense to give a take back here. It's an obvious mouse slip. It's not like you played like knight d4 and called it a mouse slip or something. So
yeah.
so let's see. Knight c4, b5. I think this is kind of encouraging what white wants to do, right, Vedant?
I can't see the.
It's coming up.
Oh, yeah.
So in the third game, you played b5 on move 9, and you're just forcing white to capture the bishop. But actually, the bishop is what he wants, I think. Is that right, Neil?
Yeah, I don't like my bishop. My bishop is very weak, I thought.
No, I thought it's a good bishop. I don't know why you would give it up.
Yeah, I think Vedant, you're consistently overvaluing initiative. You're like, okay, I get my queen to a better square. That's what I want. But actually, you're giving up a better piece. So probably,
Yeah.
yeah,
This
Wait,
light
how?
square bishop is a thing that's the bad bishop here, so it makes sense to like give that up, but not the
yeah,
light square.
yeah, sure. Maybe here you should play bishop c7 and tending b5 because then the knight
Yeah.
can't move. I mean, it can move, but it can only go
I
back.
think bishop c7 or bishop e7, and then b5 made sense after that.
What were you
But I don't.
planning, Neil, if after bishop c7?
After bishop c7, right? I was in like
Just like castle or something?
I would have probably played castle and then 93. Yeah.
Yeah, just see what happens. Yeah. Here, maybe black has a comfortable position actually, which is kind of weird. But what can you say? I think I would play bishop b7 here for black, and it's probably equality, which is part of why I don't like this g3 line. I played it several times when I was more new, and I had a really bad game against my friend, whose name is Ethan, and he played basically the refutation, and so I started playing that for black, and I stopped playing this for white.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, g3 sometimes against higher rated players it just like doesn't work out at all.
Yeah, you just lose all your activity. They just
Yeah.
play too well. So let's see, e5. This is kind of like a reverse Morozze bind, in some sense. I mean, more pieces are off, but
Than it is, yeah.
hmm
If he plays like if he gets e5, but it's not really a Morocco bind because of the c pawn.
there's two kinds of Morozze bind structures, though. There's one with a pawn on like e4, and there's one with a pawn on c4 usually. Do you mean because it's on c2?
In this position, my position was actually better than the one I had like the previous game.
I agree.
Because I have more space and my pieces are more developed, I guess, and I could easily get an attack. But then I started having to a bad position.
Well, I don't think you can easily get an attack, but at least you have something to do, right? I think that's a big difference from your previous games. Neil, why were you saying it's not like a Morozze bind? You mean because the pawn has to be advanced, or what?
No, I mean like it kind of is, but usually with the Morocco bind, like for white, right? It's with pawns e4, c4, and then there's no c pawn, and then there's the e pawn, and then there's a c pawn.
Yeah, I was saying with colors reversed, it looks like a Morozze bind because the pawn's on e5 and c5.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's similar strategically anyway, even if it's not. Maybe it's called something else. I don't always know what things are called. But the idea is like white can never play any c pawn moves without weakening d3 like almost fatally.
Yeah,
So
basically, yeah.
yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So after rook e1, rook e8, this makes sense. a3, rook d8 makes sense, just centralizing all the pieces.
And at the end of the game, I asked about the game, what happened, but I think I kind of just lost all the. Yeah, the end was pretty bad for me after.
Although what was bad for you? I can hear you clicking a lot, so I can't. Oh, the end games. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, the end game
y-
became pretty bad.
the problem wasn't though that you had like no endgame technique. It was just that you got a bad endgame every time. So you should probably think about that.
Because I should have developed my king a bit better, but I couldn't. Because his king got actually really active from the start. Actually.
Yeah, actually, in this last game, I think Neil could have put it away earlier, like on move 16, 17.
Couldn't he have checked yeah, move
Wait, which game?
17, move 17. Couldn't he have won?
Yeah, I thought Queen E8 was winning, Neil.
Yeah, I also thought
Where? Wait, is the last? You're talking about the last game?
I think we're still in the third game. I have it on the screen. So you played Queen G4, but instead you could have played Queen E8 check, Rook E8, Rook E8. It's not mate,
I just.
but you win a rook, right?
Oh yeah. Wait, how did I miss that?
Oh, I don't know. But next you could play C4 also, which is like even more insult and injury. Like they have to do en passant.
yeah, I kind of regretted. I was really about to scream. I'm done. But then once he saw, once he didn't see, I was like, and then
I didn't see it. That's really bad. I don't know how I didn't see it.
See, it's good to play chess while you're young, so you can afford to have a few heart attacks. So keep it up, guys. Queen G4, really missed it, but you preserved some small advantage, right? Everybody just left the board, and your king was more active. So this was an example of good endgame technique. I think it was pretty clean conversion too. Although I would argue with your decision to play King C6. on move 27, you play king c6, attacking the b pawn. I think you could probably squeeze a little more with f4. Just say, I'm going to play f5 and take your pawn.
Yeah, I could have probably, yeah.
I think,
He has nothing to do anyway.
yeah, if he goes in for c4, I guess you can just take it. Should we take it or should we leave it? F4. No, f5. We should play f5. Because he has to move the knight, right? And then we can go after the pawns. So he would play something like, I think knight d8 is forced. It's ugly. Hold on, can we trap the knight? Maybe we can trap the knight. King c7, king e7, bishop g5, f6. No, it's not working. So I would go in here probably for king c5. I think this is the right timing for it. Because the knight is now on the back rank.
What's the easiest piece to trap?
The easiest piece to trap? The pawn. Just put another pawn in front of it. That's easy. Unfortunately, there's no good reason to trap the pawn usually.
What's the queen's trap? I think is like the most the
Most elaborate.
I've seen. That's like the most decisive is the like the queen trap. That's really the case.
Yeah, usually the queen traps involve like several pieces conniving together. Like in that famous Fischer-Reshevsky game from 1951 where he plays bishop takes f7 and then rook takes f7 and then knight e6 and the queen's trapped by like everybody ganging up. You know, maybe king c6 is not that bad. On stream I was kind of critical of it, but I think it actually is pretty good. The reason I didn't like it so much is that after king e7, king takes b5, king d6, it's a little hard to break through. Like black's king is a lot more active than before.
Yeah.
Maybe here you could do some arrogant move like bishop f4. I'm not sure. It looks a little bit too spicy to me. But, you know, you're still winning, so I don't want to criticize too much. We got a new subscriber, Learn Hood. Thank you very much. So, anyway, so the rest of this was, as they say, a matter of technique, right? The bishop does some pirouettes around the knight. We play b4 and a4, and I think there was not much to say after this. It just had to go down like that.
It got pretty bad.
Yeah. So this was an interesting game, better than your last one, Vedant, but still not in your favor. So going into this last game to examine, what do you think you would do differently or better in a return match, Vedant?
Probably like learn more techniques about the end game and better opening preparation.
I think the opening preparation is especially critical for you because, well, also I think maybe you should work on your decision making because often you get a reasonable position for your rating level out of the opening, but then you sabotage it immediately. You know, you make some very aggressive moves or some very passive moves. There's not a lot of consistency. So you might want to think about that too.
I regret actually playing the move. I knew it was e5, but then I just felt like maybe and then I started double doubting myself, like second thoughts, and then I'm like, nah, I'll just do this because I've actually done this a lot, and I actually remember a game I saw. I don't remember who played it, and it was actually really funny because Black actually got into position. He got smothered me, but I thought maybe that happened. It was like it was two GMs playing, and he got into smothered me. It was really funny, so I don't know what happened.
I thought there was a chance for a smother mate in this game actually. By the way, a couple of people are asking in the chat, like, I guess they're asking if I'm on Twitch. Yeah, I do have a Twitch stream. I haven't been streaming there though because most of our viewers seem to like YouTube a lot better, and I just do what you guys like. So I'm on YouTube mostly. I do have a Twitch channel. I stream there occasionally, but mostly it's on YouTube.
Maybe you could like stream on Twitch and post videos on YouTube.
Twitch has some user agreement issues with that, which is kind of annoying and dumb, if you ask me. But
Wait, what are they?
basically, they don't like it when you post things on another platform. They can strip you of your account and your everything on Twitch if you do that. So I try not to, but I also just don't care. So I'll be doing some Twitch in the future, not that much. Anyway, so talking about this final game, one area where maybe you could improve is here. I think on this move, isn't e5 better than pawn c3? I think here the move is d5. If you,
I knew about e5. It's just completely winning. Actually, e5.
it's not winning. It shouldn't be winning.
It's better. It's better for white.
Yeah, better. It's
Yeah,
better
that's
than
why either.
it's better than playing c3
It's
is
better
what I
than
was saying.
e3, yeah, but e5, d5, e takes, d takes, fg7, rook g8. It's really complicated, so I understand why you probably don't want to go into it.
I think e takes is not the best move. Is it not bishop b5?
Bishop b5,
No, I think it's e5.
e5, d5, e takes here is the best move, but he sometimes plays bishop b5 in other lines,
Oh
depending on
yeah,
the
when the
line.
bishop is not on c5, it's like that. Yeah, so after d5 we take,
This game,
and then
I
what,
got
queen takes?
decent counterplay. I got decent counterplay, I thought. But then, yeah, after all the trade happened, it's pretty bad, the queen trades.
Vedanta, I can hear you just playing all the moves and looking at the computer analysis.
Yeah.
You always do that.
No, I know.
Oh yeah? I bet. You
Yeah,
sound guilty, Vedant. I know you
huh?
too well. You're probably sneaking a look because I can always hear you moving the pieces so fast in the background.
No, yeah, I moved the pieces to look at the game.
Yeah, I know. I'm just teasing you now. So is this like what the line is? We play knight g5 in a position like this, or I don't really play this
Wait,
Scotch, so.
wait. I
So,
didn't hear a word.
all right. So basically, you said after pawn d5, so e5 d5, pawn takes d6. You said was the main move, right?
No, I said pawn takes f6.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I misheard you. I thought there was no way that pawn d6 was good. So pawn
Pawn
takes,
takes
and then pawn c4, and then pawn g7, right?
pawn takes c4, and then he can either mix it with rook e1 check first,
Mm-hmm.
or take on g7 and then rook e1 check.
Okay. And then here it's bishop e6. I think this should be better for black though, because if you go in for example, knight g5.
The e5 d5 line is better for black, but there are some tricks that white can do, so you have to just be careful about
Okay. What's one example of a trick like that? I feel like there's not
it.
that
So
much.
if e takes, d takes c4,
Yeah.
then rook e1 check. So I'll tell you different. Rook
Okay.
f7, rook g8, rook e1, bishop e6,
Sorry, I'm playing it. Yeah. So I have bishop on e6 now.
rook e1, bishop e6.
Uh
Yeah.
huh.
And the thing is, knight g5,
Mm-hmm.
you have to play queen d5 here, because that's pretty much the only move.
That's very intuitive though, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, knight g5, queen d5, knight c3, queen f5.
Mm-hmm. I
And
feel
he can even do this without taking on g7, and in that case, you have to do something else.
I feel like this is just like easy calculation though. I don't think it's much of a trap.
Actually, the thing is, after bishop g5, you can't play
Bishop
e1, bishop e6. Bishop
bi-
g5, you can't play queen d5.
after bishop g5, you said?
Yeah, after bishop e5, you can't play queen d5.
Oh, I thought you said knight g5.
No, knight g5, queen d5 is like normal, but after bishop g5, you have to like play bishop e7 or queen d7.
Okay. So like queen d7 here, and then I guess we're looking at what kind of move next? c3 or knight d2? It looks kind of ugly.
Yeah,
But this is better for black. I just know it. There's just no way.
yeah, it is probably.
Yeah, I'm not gonna check with this light chess engine because it's terrible. But you know, you can just tell looking at it. They have the bishop pair. They have a big center. Their king's unsafe, but it should be pretty easy to fix. You could even sack an exchange, and I'm sure you're just still good.
Yeah.
All right, but that was interesting. Okay, so this is a more critical line than pawn c3 for sure, because after pawn c3, pawn takes, knight takes, there's just no problems for black. Like they have less space, but it's not much. Vedanta, I thought you were going for this tactic with bishop f7, but it doesn't work. I thought that's why you did all this stuff. I thought maybe you miscalculated.
Where?
Oh, so I thought you went into this line with e5 because of a miscalculation, because e5 looks bad to me. I thought you did it because you were expecting pawn takes e5
No,
I'm
my
sorry,
e5 actually for a normal reason.
to just open the file. That's it.
No, basically I've actually done this a lot of times in classical games,
Mm-hmm.
where I actually on purpose start opening up the position because I get actually all my pieces out. I actually done this in like a French line.
But what about these pieces? This bishop on c1, the rook on a1. I feel like you should activate them and then sack the pawn.
Yeah, like all the rooks, the queen, both knights. Sometimes a trade happens, but I don't really worry about that.
I think you need to calculate these things ahead of time more. Maybe this is good intuitively, like against someone who's not prepared and doesn't know what to do. You'll definitely get some activity going,
Yeah.
but you should probably calculate and make sure before you do this in the future. It can be good to sack a pawn, but usually it's when it's the only way. Here, there are simple ways to improve, like bishop g5. You even did that a couple moves later without a pawn sacrifice. So I think this would be even stronger. So let's see what happened here. Neil had to turtle up for a little bit, but even though he's like playing Fisher random with all the pieces on the back rank, I think this position is definitely better for black. Like after rook e1, I guess you have to give the pawn. That's fine. But getting rid of this powerful bishop is extremely important, so I like that. I thought here, Neil, that you would play c6
Yeah.
after queen c4. After queen c4, I thought you'd do c6 first thing. And you want to play rook e5 for white?
I was saying after rook e5, after queen c4, bishop e6, rook e5, I'd probably at c6.
Oh, I was saying one move earlier than that. Like after queen c4, immediately play c6.
Yeah, c6, yeah, probably.
So in this position, if they play rook e5, we just take on d5. They take on d8. Oh wait, no, we shouldn't do that. If they take on e5, we would play bishop e6, and I think you're winning material. Because now the knight is pinned and pressured.
Yeah.
The bishop's also pinned, but we've opened up protection for the d8 bishop using the rook on a8. So I think everything is good for black.
Yeah.
The reason I don't want to take on d5 right now, even though it attacks the queen, is that after rook takes e8, you have to play pawn takes c4, and then they have like any good rook move, like probably rook 1 takes d8, and that's obviously winning, so we don't want that. So yeah, I think c6 was a game changer. Bishop e6 allowed Vedanta to make it back into the game a little bit.
Yeah.
But still, it worked out in your favor because you had a big advantage to start. But it got a little dicey for a second. I thought Vedanta might make a comeback. Of course, it was too late in the match, and this one was just kind of a for fun game. But, you know, can't hurt to see some more chess and root for the underdog. Okay, so I think this is pretty much it. I don't think there was any other really critical detail in this game.
Yeah.
I thought your conversion was good, Neil.
This was the place where this was like the moves where I started getting into a bad position, and then Neil found his nice tactics, in which I lost.
Yeah. All right.
This game, yeah, it was this game.
So that was all good, guys. And hopefully you guys can study up and come back for a return match. Actually, tomorrow we are going to see Max versus George, which will probably be a really exciting match. So if you guys tune in, I think it'll be really great.
They're both high rated, right?
Yeah, they're both pretty high rated. They're like, depending on their the format, they could be like really high rated. Like George is like 2400 in bullet. Of course, we're not playing a bullet match, so anything could happen.
Maybe you should do something like a fan battle series, like they choose a time control. That'd be pretty fun.
Well, I only have so much time. I mean,
Maybe add like 5 bullet games for them, like for fun.
but how do you commentate a bullet game in a good way? I'd be like, okay, they played 10 moves. What's going on? Oh no, it's checkmate. The second game has started.
Like at the end, it's kind of fun for thing to for I guess the audience, because it's actually fun to see when people make so.
I would just be commentating like a NASCAR over voiceover. You know how in NASCAR when the cars go around the track, they're just like they're making a left turn, they're making another left turn, and then it's like, oh, this car's passing that car. There's a red car. There's a blue car. It's like
What time is it?
it would just be like that.
What time?
What do you mean? What time? Oh, tomorrow. You can check it on my YouTube homepage. It's already premiered. I don't remember what time it is right now. Otherwise, I'd tell you. But yeah, check it out. I think we should wrap up here, guys. It's been great, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow.